Well, hi again, everybody, and welcome to another episode of 100 Yards of Football. This is our draft prospect show with Trey Sims, who's joined us today, along with Vincent Turner and Logan Landers, our producer and engineer. Today, we're going to talk about Jordan Phillips, a defensive tackle from Maryland, and you're going to want to stay tuned for this. Not only is he a young guy, but he's one of the strongest guys that's out there right now, and we are going to go over some of the details with him in just a moment. We're going to start today, however, with mybookie.ag. If you're interested in placing a bet on the Final Four, Major League Baseball, NCAA action, whether you want to be a part of the playoffs with NHL or NBA, mybookie.ag is the place to go. You can open an account. It's as easy as 1, 2, 3. You go online to mybookie.ag, you log in, you set up a username and a password, you fund the account, and then you can start placing bets right away. If you've been to the site before, you know how easy it is, how much information. So whether it's a casino game, horse racing, or sports betting, it's a place to turn to, and we appreciate them being a part of the sponsorship of our show. So mybookie.ag. All right, well, Trey Sims, we've got a guy right now. I knew very little about this young man, but the more that I read about him, I'm thinking, wow, this guy can play. He's young. He's a defensive lineman, strong as an ox, tackle out of Maryland. Talk a little bit about Jordan Phillips, Trey, and what he has done to impress you in terms of his draft positioning.
Well, one, I like how, like you said, you can't say how strong he is. He was named to the Bruce Feldman's freak list and he was able to squat 665 pounds, which I don't even think I could even imagine having 665 pounds on me. So squatting six, that shows how strong he is. Which he's a great run defender, which obviously helps him. Where the initial push in the middle, being able to control the line of scrimmage and able to maneuver on the line of scrimmage to get the field run gaps. Um, Great size at 315 pounds ish. He's 6'2", very strong, very dynamic. He is not the greatest of pass rushers. He wasn't able to record a sack in his time at Maryland, but he is a very talented defensive tackle because he committed to Tennessee before first, which obviously SEC school was known for football, and then he transferred to Maryland. So I feel like he could start for as a run defender in the league. We need to work on his pass rushing skills a little bit.
Yeah, he's young, but Vincent, powerful in many different ways. He's coming out early. Is that going to hold him back a little bit? Do you wish that he stayed another year, even though he's already committed? It's too late for that. But are there enough reasons for a team to want to pick him in day 2 or day 3 to offset the fact that he's so young?
I love him as a young player, only 21 years old. But the thing about him is that look at his game film against Iowa, Minnesota, Penn State, and Oregon. I wouldn't want him to come in as an older prospect. Me personally, I like him young, and then look at his size. Because him being 21 years old and you played in the league, Hop, he's going to go to a team that's going to get him stronger, go get him better, and he's going to learn real quickly. I love him being 21 years old. And then you're talking about him being a freak. Think about Midnight Star, the song they had, Freakazoid. 29 reps at 225, 5'140, 31-inch vertical at 21 years old. And one thing I love about him in high school, he was an elite wrestler, state champion in the state of Florida. The mic has dropped. Back to you, Hawk.
Well, I think you just like him because he went to Tennessee first, but then you don't like him because he left Tennessee. However, you're right. The wrestling aspect of this, he was a 3-star coming out of college. He's got great speed. His lateral movement is really good for a guy that's as big and strong as he is, but he doesn't have a second move. I think that's one of the things right now. He's got to be open to learning and developing. I think that's going to be a real key for him, Trey, is once he gets into training camp and he's going to realize that there's some other guys that he may be stronger than many on the defensive line, but he's got a long way to go in terms of his ability to get to the quarterback and make a difference.
For sure, like you said, strong, but like I said, no sacks at Maryland. So you don't know how do you judge that he was because he had a lot of tackles for losses at Maryland. So like he was able to affect them and affect getting to the backfield, but just wasn't able to get to the quarterback. But being so young, being only 21 and just turned 21, they'll be able to teach him. He'll have a lot of time to learn and grow and perfect a pass rush move.
Yeah, second move, Vincent, or just his ability to get he's 6'2". So I know you're looking for a guy 6'5" or whatever. Trey, your example there with the Steelers would be Cameron Hayward, just an enormous big body guy. But the smaller guy has the leverage advantage where he doesn't have to dip down and get underneath anybody because he's already smaller. But the sheer power that he has. And Vincent, my thing with him is he's already got the tools in terms of the strength and the speed. It's just going to be between his ears right now. The biggest portion of his game is going to develop because he's young. He has a little bit more time, right? Just turned 21 recently. So those are the things that I think that, what do we have to work on? Where do you place that? Is that a day 2, 3rd or 4th round, or does a team say, nah, I just don't know if I'm going to pull the trigger on him because he's so young. I'd rather get another player that has a little bit more experience and maybe have to wait until the 6th or 7th rounds. What's your general sense of how you feel about this?
I think when you're going in the draft, this draft, particularly in 2025, is deep with speed rushers. But when you have a good D tackle in the middle of the line, your defense is going to be better. A lot of people forget Aaron Donald. A lot of people forget Brandon Fisk. They replaced him out there in L.A. Yep. A lot of people are going to miss Grady Jarrett here in Atlanta when he go with the Chicago Bears. So my thinking is this with Mr. Phillips. I think he's going to be a guy that's going to be maybe a second-day guy. Some team is going to take him in the 2nd round because he's young and most of all his upsize, plenty. And then think about the school he's playing D tackle that he came out of, Maryland. I think there was a gentleman that played with the Dallas Cowboys that a lot of people didn't know back in 75 by the name of Randy White. They ended up having a great career with the Dallas Cowboys. But I'm going to leave you with this. There's one player that didn't get a little hoopla when he came out of college, but he played, I believe, 10 years with the New Orleans Saints and ended up being a pretty good player. And he's out there where you from, out there in Southern California. He was on that 2005-2006 USC football team where Matt Leinart and Reggie Bush was getting out of height, Brian Cushing, Clay Matthews Jr. But a lot of people forget about that defensive tackle that played in the middle by the name of Cedric Ellis.
Yeah.
Same build, same size, and I think he became a pretty good player in the National Football League. Back to you, Harper.
Yep, absolutely. Well, his lower body strength speaks for itself. He's able to get away from double teams or at least anchor to the position where it leaves the linebacker, like you mentioned, Cushing and Matthews. Those are some things that linebackers will pay a fortune to have, so to speak, if they had the money to make sure that they've got in front of him. Final thoughts, Trey, in terms of Jordan Phillips. I love his strength. I love his speed. I know he's got a little bit of work that he's got to get done. Who doesn't? So this isn't a critique of him. These are just some things that he's going to have to look forward to.
Yep. Like I said, I wouldn't necessarily thinking about a 2nd round pick, but being as young as he is, he could get to the 2nd round, but he's projected to be like 3rd, 4th, 5th. So later round draft pick. So he will indeed have eyes. He will get drafted, but all the talented, all the ability to get better will definitely help him, and I will be looking forward to seeing where he goes.
Yeah, I think he'd be a great value, fantastic in the 5th or 6th. Vincent has him going in the 2nd, or a possibility of him being a 2nd rounder, depending on other things that may come into play. The free agency aspect is pretty much over. Most of the big names have already signed, so most teams right now pretty much have their roster. But is it a team that's going to build from the front back or from the back front? There's a huge difference there. If you're going to get the corner in the 1st or 2nd round, you're going to get some linebackers, and then you have somebody in the 3rd, 4th, or 5th round that you need to replace an aging or a guy that you're not quite sure of, defensive tackle. Jordan Phillips would be a great fill-in. Final thoughts, Vincent?
Plenty of upside. I'm going to give him his nickname coming into the draft. Freakazoid.
Yep.
108-inch broad jump. I love him as a player. And I think when the draft days come, he's going to be one of the players that's going to be rising up the draft boards. Back to you, Hawk.
Trey, what do you think? Is he a guy you want to work out with in the gym up until training camp starts?
It depends on how big I'm trying to get him. That gym warrior. Let's just say that gym warrior for sure.
Yep. Yeah. Well, that wrestling aspect that you talked about a little bit early, obviously a good athlete and a guy that hopefully will have a very long career in the National Football League. And that's Jordan Phillips, a tackle out of the University of Maryland that we get a chance to talk about. We love bringing everybody that comes into the fold and presenting it to you. That's what we do here on the Draft Prospect Show here on 100 Yards of Football. So for Trey Sims, for Vincent Turner, for Logan Landers, our producer and engineer, thank you for tuning in, everybody. Have a fantastic rest of your day.